now. Thank you, Norm. I think you've done that twice now. I will keep going now. The public has been given notice of this meeting and how to access it on the town's website, which is www.hopkinton-nh.gov, and the town's Facebook page, not to mention Susan Covert's email distribution list. We've also provided a mechanism for the public to alert this body during the meeting if there's problems with access. If you have a problem, call 603-746-8242, or you can email townadmin@hopkinton-nh.gov. And in the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn and reschedule. All votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. So we'll start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When you state your presence, please state whether there's anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So I'm just going to go in order on my screen. Norm.
Norm Gupel, and I'm alone.
Rich.
Rich is here with Edith Houston.
Thank you. Ken.
Ken Traum, I'm alone.
Don.
Don Houston, home alone.
Steve.
Steve Reddy here. I'm with Carrie Williams.
Krista.
Krista Skura here. I'm with Kevin Skura.
Thomas.
Thomas Diploma, and I'm here alone.
Jonathan.
Jonathan Cohen, alone.
Don, did I get you or did I skip you? Don?
Yes, I thought you got me. I'm
Okay.
here alone.
Okay. Mark Zankel, and I am here alone. And we are missing Janet Krasaniak, who is unable to join us tonight. And we wish Janet well and hope to see her again in the future. And I think we've got everybody else. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Cindy, are you good? You tracking us okay?
Yes. Steve, you said you were here with Carrie Williams. Is that what you said?
Yes,
Okay. Carrie, C-A-R-R-I-E.
yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay. So our next order of business is to select a chair and vice chair for the committee. And what I think I'll do is open it up to nominations. And then if there's more than one nomination for either of those esteemed positions, people can speak to it. So,
Okay, this is Ken. I'll nominate Mark for another term as chair of the committee.
I'll second.
Who seconded, please? I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Norm.
Norm? Okay.
Yep.
okay, are there any other nominations for chair of the committee? You sure? Okay. Well, I'm certainly willing to chair for another year. I completed my first year. It was interesting. And I'm willing to take it on for another year. So I think what I'll do is call for the vote on the chair, and then we can move on to vice chair. So let me just go, just state your, I'm going to go around, just confirm your name and your vote. This is to confirm me as chair for one more year. Jonathan.
Jonathan Cohen, yes.
Rich.
Rich Houston, yes.
Ken.
Ken Traum, yes.
Don.
Don Houston, yes.
Steve.
Steve Reddy, yes.
Krista,
Krista Skura, yes.
Thomas,
Thomas Palmer, yes.
Norm,
Mark Zankel, Norm Gupel, yes. Go for it. Good luck.
great. Mark Zankel, I guess I don't know if I should abstain or what, but I'll just vote yes.
You can't-
Um,
If you can't vote yes, Mark, then I'm gonna have to reconsider my vote.
Okay, I'm voting yes. Great. Then let me entertain a motion for the vice chair.
I'll
Jonathan,
nominate Rich.
Jonathan, I've been vice chair for a long time and you expressed an interest last time. Would you like to be vice chair in my place?
Oh, only if you don't want to do it. I was about to nominate you. So, I'm, you,
I've ridden in the corporate jet quite a lot, so you can have a chance at it if you want.
I'm happy to do it only if you don't want to do it and if nobody else does. I mean, I'll do it for sure.
Go ahead, you be the chair, vice chair.
Jonathan, you've been officially nominated by Rich. Somebody,
I'll quickly second. So you can't back out.
anyone else like to nominate anybody else, including themselves? Okay, so then we will call the vote on Jonathan Cohen to be vice chair. Jonathan Cohen,
Just, I'm not sure if I should vote for myself or not.
come on.
I'll say yes. Jonathan Cohen is a yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Krista,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Norm,
Yes.
and Mark is a yes. Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Jonathan. Rich,
Rich,
thank you for many years as the vice chair and ably filling in on many occasions for the chair. You're not off the hook, I'm sure. Cool. Okay, so next up is the approval of the public hearing minutes of February 10th, 2021. That really does seem like a lifetime ago, I must say. They were sent out in your advanced materials, so what we'll do is start with a motion to approve those minutes and a second. Can I get a motion?
Okay, so moved.
Ken moved
I'll second.
and Jonathan seconded. Are there any corrections, clarifications, or things that folks want to raise? Knowing that Cindy was not the taker of said minutes, but we can make adjustments if we need to. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and run through the vote. Sorry, I know this takes a while. We will meet in person someday. Jonathan,
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Krista,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Norm,
Yes.
and Mark. Yes.
Actually, Mark, just to be technically correct, should Krista be abstaining since she wasn't at the meeting?
Krista, that might be a good idea if you are willing to abstain.
Okay. I abstain.
That way you don't get yourself in trouble. Cindy, so we've got all in favor and Krista abstaining.
Yes.
Cool. All right, let's get some financial updates. So let's start with town and turn it over to you, Ken.
Sure. Mark, I don't know if you want to put up the revenue and the expense summary pages, or just assume because everybody received them in email, that's fine.
I can do that, Ken. And I don't think there's any members of the public attending, but that way, if they do, I can put that on. So let me just see. Let me make sure I've got this right. I have them printed, so not. You want to start with revenue?
Whichever is easier for you.
All right, hang on. Okay.
Since there are no participants, maybe I can just go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I've got it on screen, so you can tell me if I need to zoom it in at all. Happy to do so.
I'm not seeing the document. I don't know if other people are.
No, I'm not either.
No,
All right. Well, then
Hey, Mark, why don't you forget it? I'll just talk. Since I've been finished or not already, if we hadn't tried to go this way. Well, we finally got our budget passed, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, and thank you for all who helped out in one fashion or another. So for the town, our fiscal year is the calendar year. So what you have are the financials through the end of April, 4 months into our year, or a third of the way through it. So with that, on the revenue side, where we're showing revenue against budget of roughly 28%, that's low, and a lot of that is simply due to timing. The state usually does not provide our reimbursements until December of the year. So you'll find that each month we're lagging there. One item I want to point out is payment in lieu of taxes. And those bills are going out, I believe it's next week, to the 5 entities that have pilot agreements. We're also bringing in at our next select board meeting, St. Methodius, because they are about $100,000 behind from last year. Motor vehicle permits are running above budget, which is great because that's a big dollar item. Ambulance fees look low, and again, that is timing. Other income looks high, and that's because there were payments received from the library that related to last year. But that's a real quick overview on the revenue side. At this point, there's nothing that we're viewing as of concern. If you remember, when I made the presentation of the budget for room and meals tax and highway block grant, we just assumed that we'd be getting 80% of what the state provided last year. At this point, we still have no idea if we're going to be getting more than that or not. As far as the American Rescue Plan money, there's nothing in our budget or in this revenues. We had gotten just a couple of days ago very preliminary guidance on how the funds can be utilized. And at this point, we haven't had any discussions on how it would be used. At this point, some of the possible ways it could be used are for water or sewer infrastructure or broadband. And as far as trying to help the whole town, those are not areas that we really could take advantage of. So we're still looking at, and we will, I'm sure, have a public hearing when the time comes, looking for further input on that. But so that covers the revenue side. I don't know if anybody has any questions. On the expense side, similarly, we look like we think we're in good shape. A number of issues just are timing. There are some things that we pay in advance for the year, and that's why it looks high. One item that does look out of whack is long-term debt principal and interest. In discussions with Neil and Deb, they're going to be going back over those because I think that there was something that was booked to principal that should have been booked to interest. But we're not concerned that if you take the two together, that we're still in the ballpark of what we had budgeted for. So there's really nothing on the expense side that is of concern, certainly at this point. Is there any questions anybody has?
Ken, it's probably more of a question for Thomas, actually, but just knowing the water infrastructure issues in Hopkinton Village, even though I don't live in the precinct anymore, I'm just curious if there's a conversation for the precinct commissioners or the water board of the precinct to have with the town around whether any of the federal money might be available for that water supply.
Are you asking just if we've looked at the federal money or if we're looking at other solutions to some of this stuff, or if people are having more issues, or what exactly is the question?
More like maybe it's more of a suggestion that the water board of the precinct talk with the select board. I don't know what the mechanism is for who has to, try to access those funds that are going to flow from the COVID relief bill, but it seems like an unusual opportunity around water resource.
Yeah, I'll check back with Rich about that. I know that they currently do have access to about $100,000 low-cost loan from the government. So I don't know if that's part of that. That's kind of a new thing that's come up instead of doing one of the bonds. So I'll check with him to see what they thought about that. But Rich would be the best person to talk to, and I'll follow up.
On that, we don't know at this point where the precinct is a separate entity from the town, if they could even access any of the rescue plan monies that we're getting. And the same would hold for the Kentucky precinct.
Right. Yeah, and I'm just raising it like it's worth exploring. I think Treasury literally just released the rules, so everyone's probably trying to figure out how to access the money. But this is a one-time opportunity to access funds for this kind of infrastructure. So it's worth exploring, and it's not just loan money; it's grant money too.
And the town anticipates getting $570,000 over this year and next, jointly $570,000, and I think we would have 4 years to spend it.
Is it if you can't find applicable projects to spend it on, it disappears?
I believe so. Well, we're going to make sure in one fashion or another we have. Well, hopefully we have projects that would be allowable. For instance, I don't know if stormwater is considered part of water infrastructure, and so so could we use money there? We have the TIF districts, the tax increment financing district, and a longer term plan had been to run the sewer line from where it ends now, I believe at Maple Street School, out Maple Street to the exit 6 area to get more business, which would over time result in more property tax coming into the town, and whether that would be an appropriate use for those funds or not. It's a thought. I don't know. But certainly if anybody has any thoughts on appropriate ways that we could utilize the funds, love to hear it.
Water goes through culverts.
I don't know if that, I mean, that's the simplest way. And, you know, we could do one culvert and there's the 570,000 done. But I don't think that that is allowable, but there is the next stimulus program that the federal government's talking about for infrastructure. There, you know, we think that roads, bridges, culverts would fall into that.
Thanks, Ken. Anything further for Ken?
Thank you all.
Okay, Norm, update from the school district.
Sure. I want to thank the Hopkinton School Board for having me back here to continue my service to this wonderful budget committee. It's great to work with you guys and to continue our discussion from last year moving forward in a healthy manner. Welcome, Jonathan and Krista, to the budget committee. Well, Jonathan, back again. I'm going to unpack a couple things. For you guys first, I want to talk a little bit about our current budget, and then I want to talk about some changes and then probably dig a little more deeper into the facilities project. A lot has happened since we last met, which I think is really important to discuss with you guys. As you know, we are back in school full time. I'd like to say thank you to the leadership team, our students, our teachers, our parents for all working together for a safe environment for our children, where we are able to educate our students and give them the best education we can possible. Cases have been low and our students are receiving in-person instruction. And the students that cannot attend Hopkinton for in-person, they are receiving an education remotely currently right now, which has been great. Since we've been back into school, we've had to hire 2 additional food service people for the district in order to accommodate the change going back into full-time. So that's been one thing that we've had to do for the district. Michelle mentioned in her financials that Medicaid's been a little bit slow coming in, but we have 3 more months to go. The biggest concern, not the biggest concern, it's kind of a good thing, but it's an interesting thing. We are so far right now projecting to be about 126,000 more than what was guaranteed on the unreserved fund balance. So the next step is with our newly board member, Delcy Lacoma, welcome her to the Hopkinton School Board, and Rob Nato. They'll be making a recommendation to the board through the Finance Committee on how we plan on using the unreserved fund balance. There's quite a bit of opportunities for us to use with this additional surplus that continues to come in. They plan on looking at CIP and they plan on looking at other avenues in which we need to use. So that was probably the biggest, most that's sharing it. I mean, everything you guys received in your pack, we're still on budget. There's been no issues, no hiccups. I do want to thank the town for passing this budget and to Mark for his statement in our school district meeting. We came together as a group of board members, and this community came out in a good vote for a turnout to pass our budget for next year. One thing that was important to share was our GMR, our guaranteed maximum rate for health insurance came in less than the original GMR at 6%. It came in an actual value of 2.1%. This lower rate results in approximately 65,000 of savings. Please note, these amounts do not include plan changes after the budget was developed. One thing that's going to be unpacked next week is a public hearing for receiving funds from the state. We have a coronavirus response and relief supplement appropriation act, elementary secondary emergency relief fund called ESSER too. That's how it's all, and that we're going to receive about 170,000 from that. This is for us to prepare, prevent, and respond to COVID-19. The money needs to be used by September 30th 2023. So we have plenty of time to use it. Another ESSER 3, in my notes here, we are expect to receive about $400,000. That will be unpacked next week on what it can be allocated for, and which I'll bring to this budget committee so you can understand what these funds could be used for. But there's some money that's coming to the school district that will be worked with our with the board and with our leadership team on how we can allocate what's best for the schools. That's what I have for right now on the current budget and changes. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions for Norm, Rich?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that $400,000 coming in from?
ESSER 3, we're expected to get $400,000. We will have a public hearing next Thursday, is my understanding, to accept this.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
This is unanticipated revenue, Norm? Unbudgeted revenue, I guess.
That's correct, yeah. So we're having 170 of ESSER 2 and then 400,000 for ESSER 3, which we will unpack next week, and I'll have some more information on what they could be allocated to. But I know the 170 has to be towards prepare, prevent, and respond to COVID-19. So I'm sure Michelle will have some examples for us next week to understand how it can be allocated.
Good. Good news.
It is.
Are there other questions for Norm? All right. Good things happen at the school. Thank you, Norm. Thank you for representing the school board for another year.
Yeah, can I give you a quick building update? Would that be possible, sir?
Sure, of course.
Oh, okay, awesome, and thank you, Mark, for that. So one thing that's really important that I wanted to share with the budget committee was our approved add-alt list for phase 2. As you know, this last year was a public health crisis, but it was actually one of the best times in order to do constructions and to get a bond rate out. Doing the project last year saved us a substantial amount of money in raw materials, labor, and we were able to have about an additional, currently about just under 400,000 of adults to the facilities project. The building committee made a recommendation to the Hopkinton School Board to increase the size of the nurse suite renovation, which was really enhanced significantly for what was best for kids at Harold Martin, flooring at the library, increase at the computer lab at Maple Street, and additional flooring over at the high school, replacing single glazed windows over at the high school, and at the music room, enlargements. These were recommendations from people who was in the schools that know what needs to be done to help alleviate pressure on our CIP. But the most important thing I want to stress to this committee and to the community is that everything that's been promised to this community has been delivered. Before we went ahead with any adults, we guaranteed that everything that was promised in the scope of this project has been delivered to the community. And it continues to get better for the project, because in the next month or two, we will receive about probably close to around 200,000, maybe under, depending on contingency from construction. And we will look at phase 3 of the building project. The plan, well, my preference, it's only myself and maybe a couple others, is to really look at the parking at Harold Martin. They have mentioned that adding on 4 classrooms, we need more parking over at that location. And I believe a lot of people are trying to get that number, which is about 40,000. We have quite a bit of work left to do, especially over at the high school with the science lab. We are going to be doing that during the summer. We have to do an abatement over in that location, which will take some time. We also just got some information on the bidding process for furniture, fixtures, and equipment through 3 vendors. And we are currently having Michelle go through every single item to make sure it's applicable to the project, and that was promised. As of right now, from my understanding, we are about 15,000 over budget based on that particular quote that came back from the vendors. The plan is after we check and look at the furniture that's been received as a quote, determine whether or not we want to take 15,000 out of the 43 owners contingency, 43,000 contingency that we have. So there's quite a bit of work still need to go in the facilities project, but we are getting there. I would say the last thing that's really wanted to probably nip a little bit is that there was a little bit of a discussion about leaks over at the schools, especially over at the high school. Just wanted to clarify, as I said in the board meeting, that the leak that happened in the auditorium had nothing to do with the facilities project. It was a leak that was new and was patched by our firm, which is a lot cheaper to do while they're here, and any additional leaks that they found, they've been able to fix. In order to kind of show the community what's been done with our roofs in the facilities project, BPS, HL Turner, and us and the management team had a discussion to do a quick map of all the roofs that have been done. You'll be able to see what roofs were done in the project that are going to be green, and then red are the ones with a warrant.
Norm, you froze on us. And we can't hear you.
Which project is that? Huh?
Hey, Norm, you froze on us, so we missed about 30 seconds.
I'm going to have to rewind myself. Yeah, as you guys know, once I go, it's hard to remember. I talked about the roof and how we're doing a color coordinated map of which roofs have been done and which roofs need to be done. Did you guys get that part?
Yes.
No. Oh, you did?
I believe so.
Yes. If Cindy says yes, then yes.
Okay, so the reason we're doing a map of the facilities project of what roofs have been done is because a little bit of circulation has gone around saying that the roofs are currently leaking in some location, and it's not part of the facilities project. So we just wanted to show the community a blueprint of what roofs have been done and what needs to be done in the future. Other than that, that's the update that's really important for me right now, because I'm really excited to see this project through and to really see us continue and the great support for our students and for this community and deliver a promise of a fantastic project. I'll take any questions on that.
Norm, is the fire suppression, has that been is that in completion now?
Yes, it had to be all set. It had to be all done because we wanted to receive the grant from the state in order to apply it. So that's why when you look at the sprinkler system installation, it's less than what it was last year when it was like a 289. So we had to make sure we had it done by last year.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Norm, I'm not exactly sure how to ask this question, but so I'll just wing it here. First of all, thank you. And you all are doing a fantastic job managing this multi-faceted project, which is going to be so wonderful for the school and for our students. So maybe the question is, as I think about what the town approved, the town approved bonding up to, what was the number at the end of the day? $9 million.
$9 million, correct.
$9 million and change.
Yep.
To do a set of things for the facilities that were laid out, by the school board and the district. And if you could do those things for less money than was approved by the town, would you bond less money, or do you think about using the full amount of money and doing more, essentially getting more stuff done with the amount of money that was approved at town meeting. Because those are kind of two different mentalities. And I'm just curious how the school board and if to the extent you have a thinking on that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So the plan is that we plan on bonding out what the town has given us, 9.8 or whatever that was, and using the money and the savings to improve our schools because, as you know, the town did not approve a $30 million bond or whatnot. We had fire suppression at 1.4 or something like that. So the goal is that we're trying to take off pressure off our CIP where we have these funds, and we have a construction firm and architecture firm who can help us with this work. So the plan is that the next step, we're going to go into phase 3, have a discussion, go back to the board with the savings that we potentially will get back from BPS, and go down that list and say, okay, enlarge in Harold Martin's parking, if we can do more flooring, and thanks to the community for giving us up to $10,000 in bond interest to do more flooring. At the end of this project, it's our job to maintain our facilities. And to me, that's really important. We're taking what the town has asked and we're giving them more than what's been delivered. And we also gave them a lower tax rate mark that was promised to them than at the district meeting, which says a lot. So I think it's a big gift that we're giving to them, and I'm really excited that we're giving them an opportunity to continue down the path of improving our schools.
Thanks, Norm. Are there other thoughts or questions for Norm? Norm, are you all set?
Yes, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right, good enough. Thank you. Okay, Don Houston, Kentucky Village Precinct Financials Update.
Good. We're happy that our annual meeting happened on April 14th. We had it in person down at the railroad station, which it was nice to be in person. All of our expenses are on budget at this point. The drainage project up there in the Main Street tank, Linda Kimball's field, that has basically been complete. And there are no outstanding critical items that we're facing right now. That's all I have.
Thank you,
Any
Don.
questions? Any questions? And I'd like to say Norm was the only public person there at our annual meeting. He's been waiting for me to say that, so I had to.
I love the water. Love the water. It's nice.
Cindy and Krista, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Okay, Thomas, the Hopkinton Village Precinct update.
Yeah, my update's pretty similar to Don's. Not too much to report. So far, everything is on budget. We also passed everything at our annual meeting, which we also had in person at the town hall, which is nice. So no major updates in terms of the actual precinct expenses, but in terms of the water project update, they're on track to complete it by the end of the year, which is great. So far, they spent about $150,000 out of a planned $333,000. And we just got approved for a low-cost loan, so a $95,000 low-cost loan from the state, as well as a $10,000 grant to help complete that. So just so far, so good.
Great. Thank you, Thomas. Any questions on the Hopkinton Precinct financials? All right. I'm going to open up to public comment. I don't see any members of the public in the attendees list, but I will just pause for a minute. Okay, I'm going to close the public comment session. And move on to any other business to come before the board. And there's two items that I wanted to discuss, and others are welcome to put forward anything that's on your mind. One is around when we want to meet next, and do we need to meet in June and or July or not? If we meet in June, Cindy has a conflict, we know. So we would have to think about our meeting schedule. And then the second I want to talk about is just taking everyone's temperature on meeting in person versus continuing on Zoom. And Ken, you can enlighten us, and Norm too, about how the school and the town are proceeding. So maybe we can start with that one, and then we can talk about anything else that are on folks' mind.
Okay, on the town side, actually, Monday night at the select board meeting, the issue came up about meeting in person. And if we were to meet in person, we have to, even though we would have Zoom anyway, we would still have to allow members of the public to come in. And at times for select board meetings, we get a fair sized crowd. So town hall at this point is out. It's not big enough. Neil is looking into the dining room at the Slusher Center. If we could spread out enough and anticipate, X number of individuals coming. So that's something that we will be talking about again in 2 weeks. I've also asked him to, when he's figuring out the spacing and everything, to also have the budget committee in mind, and for 11 people there as opposed to 6 with select board and Neil. So on that, I would just say discussion to be continued.
I'm curious, Norm, before you talk about the school board, Ken, did you, as part of your conversation, did you talk about the prospect of, I guess it's maybe equivalent to the synchronous learning, where members of the public could participate in person or remotely?
We would maintain the Zoom option, but as I understand it, by state law, if we're meeting in person, we have to allow members of the public to join us.
Right, but they don't have to be there in person. They could potentially participate via Zoom remotely.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's just that if 20 members of the public say wanted to attend in person, we don't have enough room at town hall. Do we have enough room at the Slusher Center?
Ken, I have a question. Are you guys using the Zoom as your way of, I know it's to be continued, but is it your way of recording since the Slusher Center doesn't have a setup? Would that be the way you guys?
We would, I believe, continue with Zoom and recording through Zoom.
Okay.
Neil would have to bring the equipment over to set it up.
Got it. Okay.
Norm, could you share how the school board is approaching this?
Yeah, sure. So we are meeting in person. Maple Street. We are divided up about 6 feet with a glass. The 5 of us. We will have Steve, Michelle, and one of the guests, and that's it at the main table. We have the public submit in comments until 5 p.m., which Mr. O'Brien will read during public comment. We are not doing synchronized board meeting. It's been going really well in person. We've only had 2 people show up in the last 2 board meetings. So we have Matt Stone, who's able to stream our meeting on YouTube for the community. And if people want to do a public comment, we have them spaced out in the Maple Street's cafeteria, where they can go up to the mic and they can clean their hands, whatnot, and be able to participate. We still have a mask mandate in the school district, so if people attend the meeting, they must have a mask, regardless if they're vaccinated.
Yeah. The difference between the town and the school is between the cafeteria at Maple Street School and the gym as a backup. They just have that much more space to accommodate any members of the public.
Norm, did you say that the members of the school board are separated by plastic?
Yeah, they have a plastic shield right next to them. Like, yeah, right here. But sometimes we're going back like this talking, but you know, it's right in front of us for protection. So like what they use for the students in the classroom, if there's a glass in front of them and if they're doing a one-on-one.
Is that something, Ken, that the town has available for select board meetings or budget committee meetings?
Well, we haven't met in person
Right.
in over a year, so I'm not quite sure what we have, but even if we do that for the select board, and I'm sure we would have some kind of separation between each of us, it's the members of the public, and if we get a big turnout, that's our concern for socially distancing.
Could you not limit live turnout to a certain number of first attendees and then broadcast it live over Zoom like we're doing now, so that any overflow could just watch online? Or is that against state law also?
I'm not an attorney. Jonathan maybe could help on this, but my understanding is we couldn't turn members of the public away if we were meeting in public.
That's a question that we could put to Neil, Krista.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Or Tom Barry,
what's that?
or Tom Barry, I think does our legal work, I think.
Right, yeah. And yeah, Neil could refer that to our council if that's warranted.
Yeah, and like I said, Neil is investigating this further, and in 2 weeks, in 12 days, he'll be reporting back to the select board his findings.
It's strange too, because at least for budget committee purposes, we might want to hammer out like when we're going to meet next, because the ground is shifting so fast that we could sort this out, and in 3 weeks, everything could look different. So, it just feels like things are moving quickly.
And hopefully in the right direction.
I think so.
Oh, that might argue for skipping the June meeting and having a July meeting with the hope that we could meet in person.
Or does anybody feel that we need to meet in June?
No.
Okay. Well, that's good.
If we meet in July,
I
we're
don't think
without
that
a-
requires a motion. I think we'll just, I hear consensus, so that's good. July, if we were to meet in July, would be July 14th. So we can tentatively plug that in as our next meeting date. And we can, as you suggest, Jonathan, give some time for things to sort themselves out and see where the select board goes in its conversations, and what Neil learns. At this point, I am curious, maybe just to get your sense of whether you want to try to meet in person in July.
I just want to let you know, Mark, that I'm on vacation on July 14th, but I would be glad to do it by Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, so I just want to open up to just kind of understand people's interest in trying to meet in person. I think there's a, we probably can continue to meet remotely for some period of time. We also can try to meet in person under a set of protocols. So I'm curious, I guess, people's appetite for meeting in person. And I heard you say, Rich, already that you would like to, even though you can't do it on that date. But I just want to open it up to others to hear your perspectives.
So I've been meeting in person, and I know it's only 5 of us, or 8 of us, and I have to say, I missed it. I missed the interaction with, my fellow board members and with people and being able to have a discussion, not have to worry about the slag, and all these other issues. As someone on this committee and someone that's been in person, I'm very comfortable with being in person, with safety protocols in order to have a meeting with you guys. I'm totally fine with it.
Thanks, Norm, for that perspective. Norm, can I just ask a quick question? I assume that you all are masked up during these meetings. Is that correct?
We are. That is correct.
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Other thoughts?
I'm new, but I will venture to go next. I'm happy to meet in person, potentially, I guess, through the summer with masks and then see how it goes. But assuming we can mostly social distance, I think it would be good to try to get to in person.
I prefer in person, but I can go either way. I think we'll know a lot more in another month.
Thanks, Krista. Thank you, Don.
Yeah, my preference similarly is to meet in person, if we can do it following whatever the CDC guidelines are at that time.
Great. Thank you, Ken. Other thoughts, Jonathan or Steve? Do you have a perspective you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we can meet in person, great. I'm happy to do it. I just feel like the ground is shifting. So I feel like whatever I get, you're just trying to sort of take the temperature of the room. I think if I had to vote, I'd say in person. It feels like by the time we meet, that's going to be, it's probably not that dicey a prospect now. It certainly won't be in a couple months, but that's my take.
Thanks, Jonathan.
While it's convenient to meet in our kitchen on Zoom, at some point, we definitely should be back in person.
Okay, great. Thanks, Steve. So,
Mark,
yeah.
Mark, I'd like to ask, has everyone had their shots?
So Rich, I'm just going to step in and say, I don't know that that's a question that I want people, as much as my own, I have curiosity, but like in my workplace, we're not allowed to ask that question. And I just want to respect that people have different reasons for why they may or may not be vaccinated or may or may not want to answer that question. So I totally feel you. But I would also want to check with Neil before I ask people to respond to that question.
I think you're right, Mark, that, you can't ask people that.
I can come over to the farm, Rich, and we can talk about it though. Okay. Great. So I hear good sentiment in favor of trying to meet together if we can. I meet in person if we can, obviously following CDC guidance and any 10 requirements, and understanding that it's a pretty dynamic world out there, and we'll know more in a few weeks. So I will work with Neil. I'll track what's going on with the select board and work with Neil to see if that can be made possible for July 14th and where and under what conditions, and circle back with all of you as we get closer to that date. Any other business that folks want to bring up with the board today? Jonathan.
Just a very quick plug that the farmers market is now outside. So come down on Saturday.
Yes, awesome. Support our local farmers and craftspeople and bakers.
Oh, and one other plug too, that we are going to be holding a clinic for our students for vaccination, just to let you all know. It's coming up soon for 12 up. So that's exciting for this community to put that plug in there too.
That's great, Norm. Other business? All right. Then let's call it a night here. Can someone make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That was Ken.
Second.
Ken moved. I think Rich seconded, Cindy. So
Okay.
I'll just run through real quick. Jonathan,
Yes.
Rich,
Yeah.
Ken,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Krista,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Norm,
Yes.
Mark is a yes. Thank you all. Stay well and healthy and safe. Enjoy the spring weather, and we'll see you in a couple months. We're out at the farmer's market.